Terry. I'm going to read too, if it's okay. My name is Terry Brandigan, and Dean Elliott was my friend and fellow traveler for almost 50 years. And I love it. So oftentimes, at times like this, we're asked to stop and share a moment of silence in honor of our lost friend. That might be okay for some services like this, but that's not Dean Elliott. We're here to celebrate Dean Elliott. So if you would join me in offering a moment of pure noise for our friend Dean Elliott. That is how we're going to remember Dean Elliott. So Dean's with us today. I see a piece of him in everyone in this room. And even if you were to add up the sum of the 200 people of us gathered here today, it would not even begin to come close to matching what made Dean Dean. We're here to celebrate a truly remarkable man. A man whose presence was as vibrant and boundless as the many, many roles he embraced throughout his short but impactful life. Let's go through some of them. Dean was a father, a husband, a brother, an uncle, a son, a cherished friend. But those words don't even begin to tell the whole story of who my friend Dean Elliott was. Did you know Dean was a drummer whose rhythm brought joy to every room? Did you know he was a scuba diver who explored the depths of the world with curiosity and courage? He was an entrepreneur with spirit and creativity and the determination to make it happen. He was an EMT who devoted himself to the care and the protection of others. Dean was Papa Bear to those he loved, and a protector whose kindness and strength made us all feel safe. Dean was also an actor. He brought stories to life. He was a collector who had an eye for beauty, and in my opinion, frankly, was a great fucking dresser whose style actually matched his personality. God only made one, Dean Elliott. I talked a lot about Dean with my friends, and I was thinking about that because not as many of them had the joy of meeting him as you did. And I thought about the adjectives that I used to use to describe your father. Loving, protective, always came to the top. Artistic, funny, stylish, adventurous, handsome, playful, etc. But no one's perfect, yet it occurred to me that I never used a negative adjective when trying to describe my friend or our friendship to someone who had not had the pleasure of meeting him. It's kind of true. Okay? Occasionally, I would use the word frustrating.
Ding, ding.
Did anybody here ever neglect a text message from Dean?
Well, we couldn't.
No, you couldn't.
Hell has no scorn, but I was talking to Liz, and I can actually mark the chapters of my life by my relationships with Dean. From the first time we met to our days working at the local bars, hanging out with a collection. Where's Dory, by the way? Can you come closer? Hanging out with a collection of characters and incredible talent who came all the way to Weston to record at the studio. To his early days in the city and ultimately my days in the city, I remember the years he lived above an Indian restaurant, right, with a bathtub in the kitchen across the street from the Hells Angels New York City's headquarters. I joined him on big production sets during his time as an actor, and I even watched him make people smile from behind the counter as they walked into his bait shop, and everything in between. And I loved every single minute of it. And when you spend as much time with someone like Dean as I did, you're bound to collect some stories, some great stories, some of which I can actually tell. So Cynthia asked me to pick one and share one of my favorites and share it. And honestly, Cynthia, London, Lucas, Story, I love every single one of them. But let me share one. I want to tell you how we met. So I'm about 4 years older than Dean. And one summer my father thought it would look good on a resume, not a college application, if I worked as a bank teller. It was a bad idea. The bank was this retro-styled small space with the teller window set up to look like a ticket window at a train station with thick glass, a little tray you slide your stuff under. Well, one day, a young guy with a particular version of an afro and wearing overalls and clogs came bouncing right up to my window. And he proceeded to slide a withdrawal slip and a passbook through my tray, but he was incredibly excitable and instantly likable. So the withdrawal slip was for $35. And I opened up the passbook, and there was considerably more than $35 in the passbook. But when I checked the signatures on the passbook, it read, Doris Elliott, in trust for for Dean Elliott. I looked at it as a newly anointed bank teller, and I explained to him that only his mother could make a withdrawal from that account. And let me tell you, this struck a nerve. Absolutely irate and shouting at me about how he had earned all that money. I handed him the passbook through the little slot in the window. Not to be elected or something. Sorry. So he snatched the book, out the door he went, but right across from where we were, there was a CVS. It was actually called the Genovese drugstore. So Dean snatched snatched the passbook, he exited the bridge, shouting the whole way out and informing me how my error in judgment, this error in judgment on my part would impact my future at this bank or any other. So, did I mention there was a CVS right next door? Right? I'm not kidding. Not 10 minutes later, still animated, Dean bounced his way right back up to my window, smiling broadly, and explained to me that, oh my God, he grabbed the incorrect passbook earlier, but now he had the correct one, and so I proceeded to slide the withdrawal slip and the passbook under my tray again. Right? There was the same $35 withdrawal slip, but when I opened the passbook, it read Dean Elliott. What it also had was a long strip of whiteout where it formerly read Doris Elliott in trust form. I asked him to wait a second, so I went to the back office, whereupon I showed our bank manager the situation, and she simply replied, Dean, I'll call his mother. No problem.
Yes, exactly.
So I asked her, I said, I've been working here like 5 weeks. I said, well, what do you want me to do? She said, well, obviously don't give him the money. I'm like, okay. She goes, and don't give him the passbook. I'm like, oh. So I returned to the window where Dean was standing there smiling, waiting for his $35, and proceeded to give him the bad news. And I swear to God, in a flash, he was pressed against the glass of my window. Beyond mad. Like, I was like, holy shit, this is like if the gorilla in the zoo comes up against the glass. And he's screaming at me again. Now, remember I told you that I did find him instantly likable. And there were only the thickness of the glass between us. So I leaned in and I said something to the effect of, dude, you went next door and you got some white on you painted over your mother's name. I can see it bleeding through. So this got even a bigger reaction. Previous one I had from Dean. And so he ends up storming out of the branch with his forged passbook, informing me that he was on his way to get me fired. All right, I'm sorry for the length of this, but not 3 days later, I'm the only teller working, and I see him coming in again. So I prepare myself for the worst. But to my surprise, here he comes, bouncing in, smiling, just like it was the first time, walked right up to my window, and he says, hey dude, sorry about the other day. I just needed a new motorcycle helmet. And that was how 50 years of a wonderful friendship began. So later I learned that Dean Dory had earned that money. He actually had earned that money. Who knew, right? And I actually did lose my job as a teller. So it was very prophetic. So you guys, to everybody in the room, everybody. So like me, I'm sure that many of you probably had long gaps of time between the times you actually got to see Dean, but I bet you never had a gap in your friendship. Some of you may not have gotten to say the goodbye you would like to, or the thank you, and you may ask yourself, did he know? So did he know how much you loved him? Did he know how incredibly talented or handsome you thought he was? It's okay, he knew. He knows. He feels it. I feel it. So it's okay, because you were good friends to him and he knows. But just like he never pointed that finger of his at himself in the countless photos that he shared with all his friends, I want to make sure that you knew. So Dory, did you know? Did you know how he talked endlessly about your talent, your kindness, your beauty, and how only you understood the depth behind that special wink that you shared with that fellow traveler? He could not have gotten there without you, and vice versa. Bodhi, do you know how proud he was to be your uncle? If I were to tell you how much I know about you, you'd probably call the authorities, but you don't need to. I know so much about you, and I'm so proud of you, because Dean never missed a chance to share the details of the joy he felt by being your uncle. Cynthia, I hope you know. But did you know? Did you know how humble Dean was by the person that you are? There's scientists say that energy is infinite, is finite. It can never be created nor destroyed, and that there's only so much of it in the world. Well, anybody who ever says that never met Dean and Cynthia together. You were proof that 1 + 1 can equal 3. But I will tell you, Dean met his match with you. I think you are simply incredible. incredibly intelligent. You're as strong. You can be strong and soft at the same time. You can be as focused as you can be silly. But what truly sets you apart is your infinite generosity. You say thank you when you really should be saying you're welcome. However, as good as you are at so many things, what you are best at is being a mother. I don't think I've ever seen anybody do it better, and it shows in the two amazing children you've raised, London and King Lucas. And I would also be remiss if I didn't say you and Dean may just have been about the best looking couple ever, and you can't feel bad about looking good. Sorry. London, do you know your father? Do you know your father thinks you are perfect? You share his remarkable sense of timing. And you'll understand what I mean when I say that later. And you share a love for all the kinds of things that others simply take for granted. You and your father share a lot of connections with all kinds of people. But I noticed right away that there was another connection between the two of you that you shared with nobody else. One day, I was with your father and you were walking towards us. He didn't even turn his head, but he kept looking at HD. He kept looking at you, London, and he said out loud, "Look at her. She's perfect. I fucking love her." Lucas, I met your dad when he was about your age. I want to make sure that you know your father has born the very best of himself into you, and you're becoming everything that he dreamed you would become. One time, this is a true story, he accurately predicted for me your future. This was when you were very young, right down to how much you would weigh, how tall you would be, what position you would play, but most importantly, the kindness you carry in your heart. And he was right. He knew you that well because he's a part of you. So Lucas, your dad was Papa Bear and you were his cub, fierce but kind. You know what it means to be a friend, and I've watched you. You never missed the chance to tell the people you love that you love them. Never stop doing that. So you are now Papa Bear and you're up to the task, and I'm here to help. All right, all. So this is it. We're here to celebrate our friend Dean and the impact he's had on our lives. As I said earlier, God only made one Dean, and only Dean could mean this so much. It means so much to so many remarkable people because you all meant so very much to him. I never expected to have to be here, but I'm honored for the chance, and I'm honored to call Dean my brother. So before I step away tonight, it's our turn to point the finger to heaven and thank Dean and God for our time together. All right.